How we doing? All righty. Who attended the diabetes instructions today? Quite informative? All right, good. Good. All righty. How you doing with that? Whoa. No, I'm talking about that. No, I'm not talking about, come on, do you shift with me? All right. How we doing with discipling the tongue? How's it coming? Who's that over here said pray for me? Did somebody over there say pray for me? All right. That's what we're working on. It's a work in progress. Okay. All right. Now let's see if we can work with this tactless tongue. The tactless tongue. How many of you have heard the phrase, there is more than one way to skin a cat? Explain that.
There's more than one way to do something.
There's more than one way to do something, okay?
And we each have a different way of doing a thing, but in the end, we see this, we do the same, but we did it in a different way.
Okay, all righty. We can take a different path, but reach the same destination. Okay. I wonder how many of us do that when it comes to choosing our words. I wonder, do we put that much time, energy, and consideration when it comes to communicating honestly? You and I can be brutally honest without being brutal. Okay. This side got it. I'm not sure about that far side over there. Yeah, we want to be honest, okay? But there is a way for us to speak honestly the way Jesus did. And so that's what we want to talk about today. How to stay away from the tactless tongue. There's one text. Marcel, go ahead and put up the Daniel 1, verse 8 passage. And here is an example of how we get further in terms of relationships and effectiveness when we practice diplomacy in our speech. Passage, of course, let me give you a little background. Of course, Daniel and a couple of his friends were bound under a Nebuchadnezzar captivity, and he selected young men, and the goal was to indoctrinate them in the ways of Babylonian customs and beliefs, practices. And one of the things that the king sought to do was to change their eating habits. And of course, you understand anything about Jewish culture. Your diet gave shape to your convictions, your beliefs. It's kind of like some of us don't eat pork because we Baptists. I'm just making sure y'all awake, okay? But there were strict dietary laws for Jews. And so Daniel, as well as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had made up their mind they would not be defiled. Okay? And so notice how, once they were given the instruction, notice how Daniel tactfully makes a request, and ultimately the official would allow Daniel, as well as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to eat according to their Jewish customs. So here, go ahead and put it up, back up, Sale. But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the royal rations of food and wine. So he asked the palace master to allow him not to defile himself. And ultimately, the result of the favor of God on the life of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, this official allowed them, to eat. And so here is just an example, okay, of how if we're careful with our choice of words, we can win in the end. Okay? But how often have you and I been brutally honest with words, phrases, beliefs, and all of that, and we have not been successful? That is, we have not been effective. We have not changed minds. We have not changed lives. We have not gained friends. Sometimes we have created enemies. Okay? And so, of course, we understand grace and truth, they are not mutually exclusive. And we'll see in a moment again how Jesus, the master teacher, the master communicator. Okay. But let's just look at a couple of the scriptures. We're going to look at 3 passages, and then we're going to use an example for each passage. Okay. The first passage is Job chapter 6, verse 25. How forceful are honest words, but your reproof, what does it reprove? Now, what is Job saying here? What is Job saying here? That sometimes being honest is painful. And sometimes it's not just the person's fault who is speaking the truth. It's the receiver on the other end based upon life's experiences. Now we understand why Jesus put clothes on truth and called them parable. We don't deal well with the naked truth. We don't. You can't come straight at us with the truth. Okay? We don't want to hear it oft times. Okay? And so Jesus told stories. And the stories had trapdoors. And people would think Jesus was talking about somebody else. And in the end, they found out they were in the story. That's the power of story. Okay? Stories disarm us. They make us relax. And then we find ourselves, oh, that's me in the story. And so no one can remain neutral once you hear a story. Either you receive or you reject the truth that is being presented. So Job says here, in essence, what he is saying, truth is painful. It hurts. Okay. Sometimes it hurts to tell the truth. And then sometimes it hurts to hear the truth. We're to always tell the truth. Please understand me. Tell the truth. But there is more than one way to skin a cat. All right. So that's one. Job is saying it is painful to be brutally honest. It's painful. It's going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. But I just got to tell you. You know, I've been dreading having this conversation. You see? And I know you don't want to hear this. You're probably going to stop speaking to me. You and I have to prepare ourselves to tell the truth. You know, people leave churches for all different reasons. I've had people leave the church because of the types of sermons I preach. I was told, why don't you ever talk about how, you can, whatever you want, God to give it to you? Why you don't ever talk about that? Well, I do talk about that. I just choose the words differently. Okay, God's will is the best thing for our lives. That's just the way I say it. But again, okay, it's a challenge to tell the truth. It's a challenge to receive it, but there's nothing better than what? The truth. So all I'm saying to us is that there's a way that you and I can use words and phrases to get the point across. So that's number one. That's one passage. Telling it hurts. Preparing to tell the truth and then receiving the truth. I know they're not going to want to hear this today. I just know it, but I got to say it. Okay? If I don't say it, God going to get me. But if I say it, okay, then I'm off the hook because I'm just a mailman. But even in delivering the mail, you got to what? Be dressed like a mailman. All right, okay, all right. So that's one passage. That's okay. It's tough. It hurts. Okay, it's painful to tell it, then also to receive it. Number two, and I mentioned this briefly, John 1:17. The law indeed was given through Moses. Now, would you think just a moment how tough it was for Moses to preach? How many times did they want to stone Moses? How many times did they take their frustrations, anger, disappointment out on Moses? Because Moses was the lawgiver. Okay. All right. That's why we have sometimes radar detectors in our automobiles. So we can know what a lawman, what a law. Oh man, he got me. There go one. Did you see that? Why are they sitting up there behind it? They're trying to get people. Yeah, they are. Okay. By nature, you and I resist the law. We push back. So Moses, okay, indeed it says, law came through whom? Now listen to what it says about Jesus. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Grace and truth, okay, came through Jesus Christ. We've heard about the letter of the law, but we also heard about what? The spirit of the law. It's somewhat challenging sometimes for non-believers to hear Christians, is because you would think that those of us who are recipients of grace would be gracious in how we speak. So a non-believer, if we come at them both barrels blazing, judging, condemning, there's a special place in hell reserved for people like you. Where is the grace and truth in that statement? Okay. If you don't straighten your life out, God going to destroy you. I'm praying for you. How does that come across? I'm praying for you. You need Jesus. That's who you need. So that's encouraging. That's inspiring. Does that make someone want to surrender to Jesus? No, it is not. But is that the truth? You do need Jesus. Yes, it is. But the point of it is, those of us who are recipients of his grace should be gracious in how we speak to other people. But we're not always that way. We're not always gracious in our conversation. Okay? So, Jesus, grace and truth. Okay. He always told the truth, but he had a way of weaving it. Okay. So that people had no option but to sit and hear it. Now, once they heard it, that was another matter. But he had a way of sharing it in such a way that people would hear it. Okay? Okay, so those are two passages. Here's one more. Colossians 4 and 6. Let your what? Or communication, or your words, always be what? Gracious. And then it says what? Seasoned with what? Pepper. No. No. Seasoned with what? You are the light of the world. You are the... You see how sometimes if we're communicating and both barrels are blazing, we're not preserving life. Okay? We're pulling people down. We're tearing people down. And that's the challenge. And there have been more times than I care to count that my words have gotten me in more hot water than corn on the cob. I've often listened to some of the sermons I preached when I first came here. And they were not gracious. It was just boom. That's why some people rose up. Who does he think he is? Yeah, they weren't seasoned with grace. Okay. So, seasoned with what? Salt. We understand salt preserves, right? Yes. That day and time, it was used to preserve meat so it would not what? Decay. It would not rot. Right? So we don't want lives to rot, do we? We don't want people to decay, do we? No. We want to say, God, give them a little bit more time before you cut the tree down. Gracious, but truth. Yeah. Time is steadily moving. Okay? But God just give them a little bit more time. God hold back, use mercy to hold back judgment while we tell the truth. Yeah. Okay. So back to that. Back it up once again. Colossians. Seasoned with salt. Here it is. So that you may know how you what? Ought to what? Answer everyone. Isn't that something? That if we have a gracious disposition, regardless of how people come at us, we don't have to come back at them. We can just simply speak to them. Okay? Gracious. All right? So we're going to do three examples of this. This statement by William Burke, powerful. Like, the truth that's told with bad intent beats all the lies you can invent. Do we need to unpack that, or do you get that statement? Okay. It's all in how you tell the truth. Tell the truth. Right? Tell the truth. Okay. But it's all in how you tell it. So now, based upon that Job text and how, being honest is painful, is challenging. And here we look at this next section here about how you and I can tell the truth, but if the root of telling the truth is bad, okay, then we have been tactless. Number one, if when the root of our telling the truth, we were filled with anger. It's not good to talk when you're mad. Right? I mean, it's just not good. It's just not good. Because we may speak more from our emotions than facts. Okay. And we use adjectives when we're mad. Okay. Some stuff can come up and out when we're angry. And another thing, don't think I've forgotten. I just didn't say nothing about it. Then we get what? Historical. Go way back. Anger. Yeah. It's your fault. It's your fault that we're in debt. But this ain't the first time it happened. And we go way, way back. Way back. Okay? And we're telling the truth, but it's laced with what? Anger. It's our time to get them back. It's our time to shut it down. You're going to hear me today. Anger. Okay? And then the person we're talking to, they don't want to hear it. They turn and walk away from us. Okay. Act like they got an emergency call they got to take care of. Don't want to hear it. Because we end up talking about more than the matter at hand. Anger. Okay? Anger. Okay? Secondly, frustration. Okay? I just been holding this for so long. But since I got your attention, there's several things I want to deal with today. Frustration. Okay. I don't like that hairstyle. I know when you first asked me, I said, you wearing it. But I mean, I never have cared for it. I mean, and again, just out of frustration, holding it in, you go ahead and let it out. And then that can go from one topic to the next. And now we have just chipped the person down to nothing. And then they ain't gonna never ask us what we think about another. Do you really like this? Oh, I love that. Because I know last time you said you liked it too. I was just checking. Frustration. Frustration. Okay. There's another one, disappointment. Disappointment. Okay. Our children are different, but we cannot treat them differently. A C- might be one child's best. You're the first Smith child to ever get a C-. I'll let you know that. Such and such was a junior. They made straight A's. In fact, I don't ever recall them making anything less than a B+. See all those awards in their room? See all the spelling bees they won? But you're going to bring a C- to this house? I'm really disappointed in you. And then on top of this, you get a B in physical education. And all you got to do is show up and dress out. Spend all this money on your clothes, the right type of gym shoes, all of this, and you can't even show up and dress out? What type of child are you? telling the truth, but it's from what? Disappointment. You know, I can't even look at you right now. You know, get out of my face. You ever heard that? Better than that, have you ever said that? Get out of my sight. You know, my day was going well until tactless. Okay? Tactless. Okay? Then here's another one. We mentioned this a little. Retaliation. Retaliation. Telling the truth to get back. Okay? Glad that the truth is hurting someone. Glad that the truth is destroying someone. It is not God's will that anyone would perish. That is, God is not happy that there will be individuals who will spend eternity apart from him. He is not happy. But is that the truth? Yes, it is. And so if our telling the truth is going to destroy somebody, and we're glad about that, there's an inaccuracy there. Because those of us who have been recipients of grace should communicate graciously. Of course, we get into, you know, it's sometimes it's how you say things. I mean, I work on passion, because sometimes people think passion is anger, and I'm not mad, but it's passion. And sometimes I can get too high. Sometimes I can be too forceful. Sometimes I am so excited. I am so stirred. So I have to work on controlling that, because I want y'all to get it. But sometimes you can't get it if I'm up here. Can you? Turn it down, Pastor, turn it down. I understand. I'm working on it. But again, it's not just what you say, but it's what? How you say it. And again, I tell you, I've gotten in trouble several times, because not practicing this type of communication. Okay, and I feel right at home because I know I'm not by myself. Let the church say, "Praise the Lord." Okay, all right, okay, all right. So now look at this statement of summation. See if we can kind of summarize this intentional tactlessness. While honesty is indeed what? The best policy, it is not a license to say whatever we want. Think about that. Think about how many relationships have experienced rough waters because of this tongue. Tactlessness. Just saying it. Okay? I mean, who wants to wake up and hear how bad they are? But better than that, who wakes up can't wait to tell somebody how bad they are and how wrong they are. Think about that. And so we want to season our words. Season it with what? Salt. We want to preserve. Preservation is what we are about, not destruction. Okay? All right. So let's move to grace and truth. Okay? That Job 6 kind of helps us with that intentional tactlessness. Again, truth is hard, and we just go ahead and say it. Just stay with the title right now, Sal. Just grace and truth. Okay. The story I recently heard, a wife, I was going on a business trip. No, can you just put Grace and Truth up? Can't do that? Okay. There we go. That's better right there. Give me a little thunder. Give me a little power. Wife went on the business trip, left her husband Tom home to take care of their cat, Minnie, Mimi, and her live-in mother. So she called kind of daily, just kind of see how everything was going. And on the third day that she called home, her husband told her that the cat had some kind of way gotten out of the house, made his way on the roof, and he was trying to get the cat to come in, but the cat, out of fear and some other things, fell from the roof and was seriously injured, and was now at the veterinarian, and things didn't really look good. And so the wife called back the next day just to get a status report, and he just came out and said the cat is dead. So of course she went off, saying that he was insensitive, how he didn't care and all of that. And she said to him that there was another way you could have shared all of this with me. Okay. Now, here's the way that she said you could have said. Now you can put it up, Sale. On day one, she said you could have said, honey, the cat is on the roof. Some kind of way got out of the house and is on the roof. Day two, said you could have said, the cat is at the vet and things aren't looking too good. Day three, okay, honey, our cat died. I'm so sorry. Okay. And that's just a way that you can tell the truth, but you can be sensitive to how it's going to impact the hearer. Okay. Oh, and she did ask him after this, how's mom? And he said she's on the roof. So, but you get the gist of this, okay? Easing it, right? Not everything at what? One time. Okay. Some doctors could use this class. Some medical professionals. Some people who deal with people, nurses and so forth, they could use this because sometimes they just come out and just boom. Just boom. Okay. And then we're stuck to kind of deal with everything. Okay. So here is an example of how Jesus communicated. Go ahead and put that up there, that statement of summation. Jesus never allowed his graciousness to prevent him from imparting truth. Okay? And so basically what we've been talking about is that, yeah, tell the truth. But there is a way we can tell the truth such that we stand a better chance, okay, of gaining a hearing. Okay? Not creating a foe. Not making things worse. Okay? All right. Questions so far before we do this last piece. Okay? So then we've been talking about it. So how do we do it? Okay? The Federal Commission, Federal Communications Commissions, they have this mandate where they are oftentimes, they would tell broadcasters to delay transmission. Okay? And we've all seen situations where some news stations, some newscasters have jumped out of the gate with information. And it had been confirmed and been a fact check and all that. We see this stuff all the time. But again, the FCC, they would occasionally do that. And so as it relates to our communicating, we might want to practice that as well. Okay. Just because we know the truth, it may not necessarily be the best time to share the truth. Let me wait a little bit. And as I am waiting, we are also prayerfully preparing, how do I best convey this message? Okay. You know, the invitation, I've yet to see somebody get up and do an invitation and said, if you don't accept Jesus Christ right now, you're going to die and go to hell. And everybody get up and come to the altar. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen it happen. Never seen it happen that way. Is that true if a person does not acknowledge Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, that their destiny is a hell-like experience throughout eternity? Yes, it is. We believe that is the truth. But we don't want them to go to hell, do we? So why not communicate that? How many of us got relatives that don't know the Lord, and we know they don't know the Lord? And instead of being gracious with our communication, we're brutally honest with them. And it just seems like that's not working. But we hadn't changed the way we communicate.
Yes, how do you communicate relatively so long before you go to them?
Before you drop it.
Yes.
Yeah. And here again, obviously you're going to be proudful. But again, I think our example speaks volumes. Our example speaks volumes. Patience, loving, kind, considerate, but you're truthful. Okay. And I just believe that people cannot ignore a lifestyle. If they see it, they can't ignore it. Now they may not acknowledge it, but they can't ignore it. In terms of the difference knowing Christ makes in a person's life. There is a difference. The person is not perfect because there's no such thing as a perfect person. The person is, however, more and more like Jesus. And there have to be proof, there have to be evidence, there has to be examples. There have to be. Okay? And so I think modeling that over a period of time, it gives room, okay, for us to get a hearing. And at some point, we have to get to that message that, listen, you know, just like you have a right for someone who attempts to break in on your family, to come in on your house, you have a right to defend your family and not to let them come in. God has a heaven that he has a right to say who comes in. He has a right. And no ladder can get you there. No good works can get you there. Okay? In fact, he came down so that we could get there. And I hope that you would consider getting there. I hope so. Now that's totally opposite of that if you don't change your life right now, I'm telling you, you're going to get a first-class ticket to hell. I've heard people say first-class ticket to hell. You're going to bust hell. And then do they say, I want Jesus, give me Jesus? No, they get mad. Who are you? You see? And I cannot tell you the number of times I have made those types of mistakes. I have seen people, I've seen them grit their teeth. I've seen them at funerals. I've seen them. Okay. They even pull me to the side. I mean, I've experienced that. And there is a way to tell the truth, but you can be gracious with it. Okay. I see Shirley and then Pat. Shirley?
There's also a time.
Time.
You can tell them that
Oh, yeah.
it might not be right then when you want to say it. That might not be the right time.
Right, right. So if the child missed the layup that would have won the game, I don't think driving home, you know you blew the game, don't you? I done already made hotel accommodation for the championship game. Guess I won't be going now because you. Not the best time. And yet, how many times have somebody crushed us as soon as something went down? Tactless. Okay? Again, don't give us a license to say whatever we want. Okay? This tongue is something else. Okay? And again, it's something when we know it's gonna hurt and when we gonna say it. Something about that we want God to work on that with us. So here are some examples, okay? Okay? Review our words. Review our words. Should I say this? Is there another way to say this? How can I say this? If I were the person, how would I want it said to me? I know this is not the best time of the day. They're not a morning person. I know this is a touchy subject. We've had this discussion several times, but at the same time, I gotta say it. But how do I do it? Review our words. Put some thought into it. Turn it over in our what? Heads. Okay. That, those of us, you talk about sometimes you talk about it being in relationships. We know each other, and we know some sensitive spots. We know some areas you better not say nothing about that. You better not say nothing about that. Do not bring up how your mama used to cook cornbread. You better not talk about how somebody else used to do it. Is that the truth? Okay, so you got to know. You just gonna eat that cornbread like it's Cracker Barrel or something. I don't know. I'm be praying with you, but you just got to be careful with that. Okay. Or it could be from a male perspective. You better not call nobody else to clean these cars. I clean these cars. I clean them. You call who? To do what? Oh, no, you didn't. Ain't no other man. So, so when we kind of know some situations, you got to be sensitive to that. Yeah, so wait, baby, had you ever thought about it because you're so busy, you got so much going on, that you would consider asking someone else to take care of the car? Okay, but then let that man take the initiative. Because sister girls, I'm going to tell you something. It ain't going to come out good if you take the initiative. Especially if that's an area that he has a lot of pride in. Just like you don't want nobody else coming in that kitchen doing anything. Or vice versa. It just depends. Okay? So, review our words. Here's another one. Evaluate evaluate our words' impact. Now we think about what we're going to say, but then we think about the results of what we're going to say, the impact, the immediate, the short-term, long-term impact. You know what I've discovered? Whenever someone does wrong, they're always ready to ask for forgiveness. But the person that they have wronged is not necessarily ready to forgive. And then sometimes the person who's done wrong, whoo, that was hard, but you want to go to a movie? Come and give me a hug. See, the person who wants forgiveness, they ready, but not the person who has to forgive. So you got to think about the impact. Okay? So as somebody mentioned timing, evaluate our words' impact. Okay? If you all are going on a 6-hour drive and ain't nobody in their car but y'all two, I would be careful with what I bring up because it can ruin that whole trip. In fact, they may say pull over. And I'll call my brother. Listen, I need you to come get me. Or just take me to the airport. The impact. Now here again, the person might be ready to say it, get it off their chest. But you got 6 more hours to go. And the drive is already long, but when ain't nothing but tension in that car, now your neck tight. It's going to be painful. Can't sleep when you get to the hotel. You're tired, but you can't sleep. Because you're scared if you move a certain way, it's going to bring that conversation back up. Sound like I've been there, huh? I told you I had a lot to apologize for. Don't y'all ask Sister Omi nothing, okay? All right, so review our words. Evaluate our words' impact. The number 3, discipline is what Shirley was talking about. Discipline the timing of our words. You and I, listen, let me tell you something. Discipline is not natural. You got to practice discipline. You got to work at discipline. And discipline is hard work. We don't wake up being disciplined. We don't always persevere with discipline. We fall off the wagon, so to speak. Some seasons we're more disciplined than we are others. Discipline is hard business. You got to work at it. And sometimes you got to put that safety pin right here. Remember that safety pin we did? You got to put that safety pin there. Okay. In fact, I wonder how much would it hurt if we let the first responders be responsible for doing safety pins. Discipline is hard. Okay? So we have to practice. We got to practice discipline. Okay? All right. And then lastly, this statement of summation, put it up there. We will always get more mileage from diplomacy than tactlessness. I mean, it just works. It just works better. Diplomacy. It just works better. Okay? All right. Okay. Any questions about the tactless tone? You know anybody who has one? You know anybody who has one? Lee? What'd he say? Okay. I thought he wanted to. Sister Pauline? Absolutely. 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 There again, because Jesus knew what was in man. And we naturally resist truth. You got to ease it. You got to spoon feed us. And so he told stories. He didn't do it without a parable. And again, he had a way where every person could identify themselves in that story. And that's the power of parable. No one can remain neutral. Either you reject the truth or you receive the truth. You cannot remain neutral in story. You can't. You cannot. Okay? So that's why he did it. Absolutely. Any other questions on Tactless tongue? Okay. Court? Christy? Or Chris?
Don't forget the potluck tomorrow.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
At 5.
Thanks.
Family size portions, we're bringing, correct? We're keeping the family of Brazil Sullivan, Sunderland, prayer. Friday is the service. She's still confirming the family hour, if it's from 9 to 10 or not. Delta College Black History Program has been canceled for this Friday. And funeral arrangements for L.H. Lee are incomplete at this time.